What's up, guys? This is Tom Fazio. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, and if it ain't, welcome back. I'm going through a bit of a series here on things that keep us stuck in life. These are related to, these are largely dealing with cognitive biases and probabilistic kind of problems that we all face in life. And some of these things underlie my book, Law of the Die, which is just coming out. If you want to be part of that launch in some way, there are perks. Check in the description. And yeah, so I'm covering kind of a series of quote-unquote thought problems, things that we tend to face in life that result from bad thinking, bad logic. And this video is dealing with the momentum problem. Right, so the momentum problem, and I might also term this becoming the Hydra. I think this is one of the most exciting topics and themes within this category because it defies what a lot of people think they should be doing to generate momentum in life. You talk to 100 people and 99 of them are going to tell you, well, you know, I think I should have a good plan, execute on that plan, arrange my life to go after the one thing and do that thing, and it should pay off, right? I mean, that's what they tell me, right? The hard work, you know, you just have a good plan and work your plan. Plan your work, work your plan, right? So one of the premises behind this book, and one of the other problems, I talk about the uncertainty problem, which is very simply put, none of us can predict the future. And there is a lot of fallout that comes by thinking and assuming that we can. It in no way needs to conform to our expectations. The world is extremely complex and extremely volatile, and occasionally we succeed by thinking that we can dissect, plan create a roadmap, execute that plan, and it pans out. But as most of us know that have tried anything in life, a lot of times plans don't work out so well, right? And as Mike Tyson tells us, and I discussed in the volatility problem, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's a difficult thing to stay the course, right? And so the momentum problem is really addressing how we get beyond the execution phase and actually get into the results phase, right? How we get beyond saying, well, this is what I think I should be doing to get these kinds of results, so I'm going to execute on these things. And into the domain of saying, I feel a tailwind. Everything everything is working for me right now as I expect it to. And so the proposition that I have in the book, Law of the Die, which is fiction, but again, I keep saying the thought behind it is not. This is pretty fun stuff. Is that good luck, that momentum can be designed, but it can't be designed in the way you might think, right? Through a traditional roadmap and through kind of predictive modeling, where I say, well, this is what other people did, therefore I should be able to do the same and see similar results. It's actually taking the alternative view, which is to say that most of the good things in life did not come to you because you planned them. Most of them came through some form of random action or intervention or circumstance that wasn't planned, but that once it happened, you kind of took ownership of it and said, mine, right? Whether it's a partner in life, whether it was a position at work, you name it, kids, so on and so forth. A lot of people get lucky and then they look back and they say, well, I'm a genius. I actually planned it this way from the beginning. So I've got in the appendix to this book, which you can have for free if you want. You can get it from my website, weightlessness.co. The appendix that goes through these thought problems, and I've got two sections in there. One of them is the momentum problem, another one is called becoming the Hydra, and these are very much linked to each other. And so the premise of becoming the Hydra, ancient Greek mythology, that was a creature with many heads, right? And Hercules fought him, and after one head would be chopped off, two heads would grow in its place. And so this is a terrifying creature. And if you were to put your mind in the psychology of somebody like a Hercules fighting such a creature, imagine what it would be like to have an adversary to where every good, positive action that you took, successful action that you took, your opponent doubled in strength or replaced two heads where there was one. Right? There's such an oppressive proposition behind it, because there's no way you win, right? I mean, maybe you find a way, and he did find a way of killing it eventually, I think. Or maybe he took one of the heads, I don't recall. But it's such an oppressive proposition that you don't even want to start. You don't even want to try, right? But now what if you were to put yourself in the Hydra's position? What if you were to say that, well, anytime I get hurt, anytime something comes to me and becomes an obstacle in my life, I don't get weaker. I actually become stronger, because it potentially removes options and assumptions from my life, and it clears the way for many more. Right? So one of the premises of the book is that you could roll the dice. We don't know how good things came into our lives, so how do we increase the probability and volume of good things, good luck happening for us, by increasing the volume of trialed things, trialed options? And I love this idea. I love this idea because it's honest, it's gritty, it's got balls, there's something really real to it, and it doesn't break down like almost all models do, like the Mike Tyson, well, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. This is what happens to concrete roadmaps when you think you can plan the future in an unpredictable, uncertain, volatile world. But so how do we bypass that? If we can accept those propositions, we might say, well, how do we create more options for upside? Right? So if you're, as an example, and I talked about this in the prison and the options, in the prison problem a little bit, and I use the example of somebody that is in a dead-end job. And if you're in that dead-end job, you might be in there and you might say, oh, I just need to, if I could just wait this out one more year, I'll get a little bit more money, maybe I can move on to something else. Or you might be an entrepreneur and you might say, oh, if I just had a little bit more capital, or if I had, if I had this type of a connection. And so we constantly look to the grass is always greener. We constantly just say, well, if we have a little bit more. But in all these circumstances, like the guy at work that maybe is feeling a little bit stifled in his context, what if he had 10 people ringing him up a week saying, hey, we know you, we think you're great, we'd like to hire you, and we're willing to give you a competitive salary on what you're getting now or more money. This isn't to say that that's an easy thing to set up, right? It's not an easy thing to set up. But most people don't even try. But it's not easy. But what it is to say is that immediately the perception of that individual in their job would shift. Because they would say, well, if I choose to stay, now there's an opportunity to make this what I want it to be. Because the risk if I get let go is nothing. I've got other options, right? Or it's to say, well, maybe I can take one of those other options now. It's just by adding more options onto the plate that are similar or even slightly better, your perspective changes instantaneously, right? And so in the last video, I talked about the motivation problem. This is an angle on motivation, right? If you have an environment where you are not so limited by your current options, you've created the potential for much more. Motivation to act becomes a whole lot easier. You're not worried about failure, right? If this doesn't work, that's okay. I've got these 10 other things going on. And so in my last tribe, we had a conversation on the last day around some of these topics, and one of the gals had mentioned, well, I tend to think that when I go after things, I tend to think that it's has a lot to do with me putting myself in the best position and then being adaptable in the way that I approach things. And to a certain extent, that's true, and that's what most people do attempting anything, right? And my response was, well, I get that, but you are approaching it as one mind and one body to one problem. And on your best day, on your best day, you are going to be limited by your own biases, assumptions, and knowledge, right? Anything that you would do would be a manifestation of your knowledge, thought, design to date, right? But there were 5 of us in the conversation. I said, but what if you could do what he, she, or I would do as well? It doesn't mean don't do your thing, right? But what if you could do and add those types of options and assumptions on top, because you wouldn't be doing them anyway. It's not the way that you think, it's not the way that you act. But what if you could put yourself in positions where you could actually implement other ideas, strategies, and options that had low cost, low time commitment, that are out of the norm for you, but that could potentially generate some form of payoff. this is an awesome proposition, right? This is, in my mind, how we can become the Hydra, right? A beast so dominant that even if one of your heads is lopped off, one of your directions, one of your focal points, if it's lopped off, you only become stronger. Why? Because it clears the field and the environment is telling you that was the wrong assumption and the wrong plan. But that was only one of many, right? And you've got many more on the back burner now that you've already activated by pure randomness. Maybe not entirely random, but at least by using a device of chance and saying, why don't I do one of these 3 or 4 things and see if it has any form of payoff? Yeah, becoming the Hydra. The momentum problem. Again, guys, I've got some of this stuff thought out, definitely more eloquently articulated in an ebook for free. A nonfiction appendix to Law of the Die. You can get it on my website for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll find the queue for that as soon as you go to the website, weightlessness.co. Would love to hear your thoughts on this stuff. I think it's super cool and interesting and different. If you have any thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments. And until next time, like, subscribe, be weightless.